so much for joining us here at the Adidas Brand Hub, ahead of the 128th Boston Marathon. So kicking off the festivities today, we've got a great panel lined up for you. We're going to have a live taping of the Kofuzi Run Club, which will cover the life and legacy of the sport of running, featuring some incredible Adidas partners. So, without further ado, I'm thrilled to hand off the mic to none other than Kofuzi, also known as Mike Co.
Yo, what's going on? Kofuzi Run Club and Adidas friends, how are you guys doing today? Show of hands, who's racing on Monday? All right, we got a lot of runners in the house. Good to see everyone. It's good to see so many familiar faces. It is my pleasure today to be the moderator of this panel. We have some great guests for you here today. The first person I want to talk to you is someone that may not even need much of an introduction already at this point. She's a four-time individual NCAA champion for NC State and a former Adidas NIL partner and now an Adidas pro. She's a force to be reckoned with. Let's welcome in Katelyn Tuohy. All right, the next person that I'm going to bring out to the panel is a Kenyan marathoner for Adidas. He's pretty fast. He's a 2:04 guy with a PR of 2:04.47. He's competing on Monday for his first Boston Marathon, Cyprian Kotut. And the final panelist that we have today is Coach Jack Waitz. He's a longtime Norwegian marathoner, pretty fast guy himself. I believe he's a 2:36 guy, but he's a husband and coach to the famous Grete Waitz, who is a marathon legend and a Adidas partner. Let's welcome in Coach Jack. Coach, how are you? All right, the first question I'm going to throw it to Katelyn for you today. Thinking about your relationship with running, was there a moment or a season in your life that stands out in terms of really falling in love with the sport?
Yeah, I think when I was young, I really liked the sport and thought I loved it, but I think my first cross-country season in college, I was a sophomore. My freshman year was during COVID, so we didn't have a full season. Is when I really fell in love with the sport. Just because of the team aspect. It was our first time winning a national championship in college, and we all just really bought it. We really wanted to win the championship because in March we were second, which was technically the 2020 championships, but because of COVID it got pushed to March of 2021. So that whole season we just worked really hard together, and the whole journey of working as a team and doing something bigger than ourselves as individuals and having a collective goal really made me appreciate the sport more as more of a people's sport than it is an individual. Even though on the track it's an individual effort, we were all training together for that one goal at the end of the season, so that's when I fell in love with the sport even more.
Awesome. Cyprian, for you, at what point did running become something that you loved or a passion and became something that you thought could be a profession?
Thank you. I grew up in an environment of running. I grew up seeing my brother running, and plus the environment I was in was of athletics. So I joined athletics when I was still running road races, cross country. I was enjoying it. Was not more of a passion. But when I started running marathon, I feel like it drew me closer to athletics, because doing marathon, it takes much of my time in preparation, and that is where it drew me closer to athletics. So I think it becomes passion when I started running marathon because of that commitment.
And Jack, for you, at what point did running or coaching running become something that you thought would be your profession?
Well, I started out with running myself as a 7-year-old. Never been a good athlete. I probably retired around 19 years of age. But I went into doing different type of work in track and field. And when I was, a lot of people asked me when I met Grete, and I can't really tell because I was 18 when she was 12, and she started in the same track club. So I knew she was around there, but I never dreamt about what should happen in the future actually. So this is, it's been a fun travel.
It's amazing. Katelyn, for you, early on, you must have had some moments and results that you viewed as being kind of building blocks of establishing a legacy. Can you share what some of those key moments might have been?
Yeah, in high school and even in middle school, I had a lot of success, but I think for me, my biggest jump or building block was the indoor national championships in 2022, my sophomore year. I was second in both the 3K and 5K, and for me that was just a big step for building confidence because that season I was injured leading up to the championship, so I only had one race 2 weeks before, and then we kind of just were let's just go for it, and I went in there with no expectations and kind of proved myself right instead of trying to prove others wrong, which for me was kind of a big step confidence-wise and mentally, just knowing that I could achieve what I achieved. Even though I didn't win, I was second, it was still a big jump, and then later that spring season I was able to win my first championship, so that was probably the biggest building block for me.
Well, that's fascinating that it wasn't a big win. That was the building block for you. It was that second place finish. Amazing. Cyprian, for you, when your work started to put you into podiums and winning marathon races, was there something different in your training or in the competition that changed that allowed you to make those kinds of leaps in progress?
I think there was nothing specific that we did with my coach to put me in podiums. It's a work in progress. It's a continuity. It's what we were doing day in, day out. So running all that cross countries in Kenya, going back to training, and there's nothing specific to say unless we were adding on mileage. Now that we were approaching a marathon, we could only add mileage. Otherwise, the program was going on, doing the same day in, day out. Yeah.
And Jack, when you were coaching Grete, what were some of the key moments in her training where she started to reach new levels of intensity and competition?
She was qualified for the Summer Olympics in 1972, did the 1500. She had broken the European 1500 meter record. We didn't know it before a few years later. But nobody was too interested in the women's sport at that time, to be honest. And in 1973, we moved in together. We had a relationship from the year before. In 1973, we found a flat. She was studying to be a teacher, and everything got much easier when we moved in together. And we started with pretty long training for a 1500 meter runner. I don't think any girls at that time started with the same thing. She was constantly running about 160 kilometers every week, which is the same pace as she did when she was a marathoner. And she got really good results out of that training and qualified for the European Championship in the 1500 meter next year.
Now, in terms of running that kind of volume and kind of managing your training, I'm sure that there would have been some very intense workouts. Is there a specifically difficult workout or a wild or intense workout that you remember that you guys would repeatedly go back to? Can you tell us about that?
There is a lot of strange workouts over the years. We live in Norway and we have heavy winters. And when I look back in her training diary, I find training sessions when she ran about 14 kilometers in high boots, the rubber boots, because the snow was so high. And I remember we found the 400 meter street where the street was clear because there was a bus going back and forth there, and we ran 14K on these 400 meters. And we have been running in parking houses, we have been running in subway stations to get away from the snow, and there's been a lot of strange training sessions.
Cyprian, how about you? What are some, I'm sure that the training conditions were probably a little bit different for you, but what are some of the wildest sessions that you may have remembered in your marathon training?
A long training sessions in speed works, especially in long fartleks, prolong, with not so much high intensity, but you have to repeat it and repeat it more times, like more than someone who is doing short distance. So those are my training sessions. I feel like it's a little bit crazy to me, but I have to do it and do it repeatedly so that I have that kind of.
All right, Katelyn, for you, as someone that's been running the 1500 meter, the 3000, and the 5000, what are some of the wildest training sessions that you kind of look back on with fondness and maybe not a little so much fondness?
Yeah, there's been a lot over the years. I think for me, like making the jump from high school to college was doing more like longer tempo work because I didn't do that in high school. So when I got to college and we started doing like 6 to 8 mile tempos, it was a big jump for me. And then I think just like the intensity of doing reps at race pace like over and over again versus like in high school, it would just be like the last rep of the workout was at race pace, and then now we're starting workouts at like an all-out 400 and then doing race pace, and so it was definitely like was a shock to my system, something I wasn't used to in high school. But yeah, I think just like matching up the intensity and the volume.
Well, I think for a room full of marathoners in here, starting out a workout with an all-out 400 sounds just absolutely terrifying. But it seems like it paid off because you're now part of a 3-peat championship NC State team under Lori Hennis. Looking back at your legacy and your time at NC State, how would you summarize your time there?
That's a good question. It feels like my time at NC State went by so fast, but then looking back, went by so slow because each year was just like drastically different. Like the journey to winning the championship each year just had like a different story, and was like really dramatic each year with everyone facing adversity in different ways. But I guess to sum it up, I would say just like having a lot of like gratitude for the people in the program. Just like the coaching staff, my teammates, it's just like the same faces over the past 4 years or so. So just having like the same people in my corner, like supporting me. So I would say the people is what made like the journey at State worth it.
And then coming out of college now and building into your pro career, how are you looking on taking that kind of team and people approach to your legacy and developing upon that?
Yeah, so I'm still training under Coach Hennis, so that's been nice that I didn't have to transition from one coach to another. And then the cool thing is that I get to train with a lot of alumni now, like Ellie Hennis, Hannah Steelman, people who were on the team with me when I was a freshman and sophomore are now like my teammates again. So it's kind of like a full circle moment. And as people graduate, hopefully like they'll like join the pro side and train with us. So it's like the same people, but it's kind of like a new cycle, which has been really cool.
And Jack, something that I think most of us got to see when we went to the expo is a small part of Grete's legacy, and that was her mantra, keep your mind in the present. What message do you hope is a small part of your lasting legacy?
Well, I'm very used to being Grete's husband, and I actually am rather pleased with that, and I'm really happy to see her legacy being brought like here, and I'm trying so good as I can to keep her spirit and her memory. That's probably one of my tasks, and I hope I will be remembered as a good coach and a good husband for her.
That's lovely. And Cyprian, for you, what do you hope will be your legacy as a runner? What do you want people to remember?
My running is really a story because it has not been so smooth because of went through injuries. Have not been consistent because of injuries. So, but I have tried my best to make sure that I smile even fighting with injuries. Try to always take it as a challenge, not a worry. And I would always want people to take every challenge positively, smile, and try to provide solution rather than getting stuck on something. So that is me.
Right. Jack, now you've had a front row seat to the evolution of the sport throughout your career, especially in women's running. And as we're approaching the 40th anniversary of the first Olympic women's marathon, how do you look back on the lasting impact of Grete's first silver medal in that inaugural race?
That was very important, of course, and the fact that Joni had a great day during that race, and she won, that was very important. She won on the home turf. Grete was very happy with her silver medal, and I think it was very important. I also think that Grete's wins in the New York City Marathon open up a lot of doors for a lot of women, and but of course the first female marathon in the Olympics was a big race. We were so lucky that we could also experience the World Championship the year before. First time marathon for women in the World Championship, and it was not, didn't get there by itself. There's been a lot of people that has been forced to make that, but I think Grete was very, very important.
Now, Katelyn, drawing that sentiment in the through line through history, you've come through as one of the kind of more recent graduates of the new NIL system, and the explosion of superstar women in sports, not only in running, but generally in sport. What excites you right now, having seen all where we've come from and to where we are now? What excites you about the future of women's running?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, just like thinking about women's sports in general, just like this past basketball season, like everyone knows who Caitlin Clark is, everyone knows who Paige Becker is, like people are just talking about it, it's getting more views, and it's just like really exciting. Like growing up, I was fortunate, in my opinion, to have really good like female role models in sport. So like trying to build off that for the next generation is kind of like a goal of mine. And now that women's sports are getting more attention, we have a bigger platform. It's a great opportunity to kind of show the younger generation and like pave the way in kind of like a humble, respectful way for the sport and for all sports in general. So it's been really cool, and NIL has opened up a lot of opportunities for people in college and both men and women's sports. So for me, like NIL was really a great opportunity to build relationships. I was able to build relationships with Adidas because I signed an NIL with them, and it just made the transition from college to pro a lot easier. So it's a different perspective on the NIL in that sense, but it's been a really unique opportunity, and I'm really grateful to have had it in college.
Right now, Cyprian, There's a lot of people in this room. I asked everyone before you came out who's going to be racing on Monday, and you're going to be racing as well. The Boston Marathon is a race with a lot of history and quite a bit of legacy in and of itself. It's a pressure-filled race for amateurs and pros alike. How are you going to work on Monday to kind of disarm the physical and mental challenges of this race?
Very interesting. Boston Marathon, from what I have heard, is a little bit challenging marathon. I've done quite a number of marathons, but maybe not as tough as Boston Marathon. My preparation started way back in Kenya, and I can say I'm lucky because I was training with Evans, and Benson Kipruta. So they already prepared my mind because I could not have managed to be here confident and ready to face what the race. So I can say my mind was prepared back then in Kenya. Though I still have a little bit of fears and tension, but then I feel like I was prepared before I came here.
Right, and in terms of that mental preparation, are there any mantras that you'll be relying on during the race, or rituals that you'll be doing beforehand to get yourself either ready or through some of those tough patches?
There's no specific ritual actually that
Okay.
prepares you, but so long as you have that kind of preparation, I have to convince my mind so that my mind will convince my legs, and that is what I can do because there is nothing much I can do about it. Now that, like I told you, the most important part of it is to get ready for it. So that is giving me courage, giving my mind, my mental, that I have done more than enough before coming here. So at least that one convinced my mind, and I'm sure my legs will be convinced. My mind.
All right. Okay. While we're on the topic of the marathon, Katelyn, while I have you here, we got a room full of marathon fans. We got a room full of Katelyn Tuohy fans. What are the chances we'd ever see Katelyn Tuohy lining up with a bib for a World Marathon Major?
The chances are really high. This is my first marathon weekend, and yesterday I was walking around, went to packet pickup, and I was like, man, I really wish I had a bib here. Someone give me a pair of shoes. I want to race. It's just really cool, seeing the community, and everyone's just enjoying their time in Boston. It's an amazing city, so hopefully down the road I could participate because I really want to. It seems like a really cool opportunity and event.
Well, that's fantastic here. I know you just made a lot of running fans very happy with that answer. Speaking of racing shoes, though, Cyprian, I can't let you guys off the stage without asking you some shoe questions. Cyprian, what are you going to be racing in on Monday? I know you can't run in the Primex Strong, but other than that, what would you pick?
I'll be racing on Evo.
All right. What color socks are you going to go with the Eagles? The socks are going to be important because the shoes see-through.
Why?
What color are the socks going to be on Monday?
Secret socks.
Game time decision? You're not sure?
I'm not sure.
And Jack, from what I hear, you raced today in the 5K?
You can call me the race, but it wasn't the race, but I ran.
Okay.
And when you're old as me, you still race high during a bad race, actually. So I've been sick for 5 weeks, so this was my third run in 5 weeks, so I was pleased.
Okay.
I was more pleased with my partner. She has also been sick for 5 weeks, and she ran 1940, I think, today, 65 years old, so it's not too bad.
And the big question is, what shoe did you race in today?
I ran in Pro 3.
Okay, nice, very good.
She had the Takumi 710.
One of my favorite shoes. And Katelyn, can you walk us through like about a week's worth of training for you? Like what shoes are you rotating through on a regular basis?
Yeah, I don't even know how many pairs of shoes I put on over a week's span, but yeah, Monday, Thursday, easy run, so I'll just wear like a comfortable trainer. I like the Supernova Rise. It just came out and I really like it. And then Tuesday, Fridays are typically workouts, so I'm wearing trainers, I'm wearing flats. I like the Takumi Sen. I'm wearing spikes sometimes, so I'll put on the Ambitions or Avantis. And then typically we'll have like a second run those days, and then back into like a trainer or something like a little more firm. So it might be like a different type of trainer, and then long runs on Wednesday and Saturday. I'm throwing on either my trainers again or maybe like something with a little more spring to it. And then like lifting shoes, walk around shoes, casual shoes, like, so I'm wearing 10 plus different types of shoes like throughout the week. So yeah, thank you Adidas for all the shoes.
Awesome. I love to hear when the pros like are getting into the shoes and they're like have a wide variety of shoes that they're getting into. All right, as we wrap up, one last question for each of you. I'd love to get a piece of advice from each of you before I let you guys go. For Cyprian, how do you manage mental and physical strength for marathon distances? Or how would you advise everyone else in the room to manage physical and mental challenges? We don't always have, all of us here don't have the hills of Kenya as to be our preparation ground. So how would you recommend for us to be strong and mentally strong?
For me, and this is what I would advise, that if you want to handle marathon, you know, that distance, 42 kilometers coming into your mind, you have to take every kilometer at a time. And, you know, first of all, you have to have good training so that when you approach the race, you will have it at the back of your mind that I have trained for it. So it will be easy for you to handle that one day of the marathon day. So if you have maximize your time in training, it will be easy for you to handle that day. And when the day comes, just smile. That is what I can tell them, and face it.
All right,
Yeah.
just smile. Take it kilometer by kilometer. For Jack, last question. Thinking back on the races you and Grete prepared for, what preparation would you recommend for today's athletes, or is there something you would recommend people not do as they're getting ready for their races?
It's a very difficult question to answer, actually. But of course, it's if you're going to do these marathons, you need to get in the long runs. That's for sure. That's the most important thing. And I think a lot of people are a little afraid of resting before racing. And I talked to a lot of good runners from way back, and a lot of them say the same thing. If I could do everything all over again, I will rest a little more.
Oh, that's fascinating. One other question, since I've got a Norwegian coach here, can I get a quick opinion from you on double thresholds?
Yeah, I have to answer that because I will be so modest to say that that's the Norwegian model, which was developed by Marius Bakken, who was the best Norwegian runner before the Ingebrigtsens came along. And he experimented on this long time, and we do it now and use it for all types of runners, even the more experienced fun runners, they do it. It takes a lot of monitoring. We spend a fortune on lactate testing, but yes, it works.
Okay, you guys heard it for your next training block. All right, Katelyn, last question for you. A lot of people, as they line up on Monday, are going to be facing a lot of pressures. Any tips as someone who's experienced a lot of internal and external pressures yourself?
Yeah, I think just staying grounded and remember like the training you put in and trusting the process is definitely what helps me. And just like leaning on my people, like I touched on like my teammates and coaches a lot, but it has really helped me to just like lean on them when the pressure gets a little overwhelming, just like helping take my mind off the race. Like if you see me and my teammates before a race, we look like we're not taking the sport seriously at all. We're just goofing around, but really we're just distracting ourselves from the pressure. And then right before the race, just like remember all the hard work we put in, and just looking back on all the hard workouts and just knowing that we did everything we could possible to prepare for the moment, and then just executing.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much to our panelists and athletes for today. Let's give them a round of applause.